mankind knew that they cannot change society. So, instead of reflecting on themselves, they made a podcast. Hello, gang. Welcome to another episode of the world-famous Hitbox podcast. Today, we are joined by an extremely special guest. I'm honoured to introduce Manny the Mage.
Hello. I'm extremely special? I mean, I don't know about extremely special. I don't know about all of that, but thank you.
Manny
I'm
the Mage
glad to be here.
Yeah, well, Manny, where are you from on the YouTubes?
So I on the YouTubes. Do you mean in
You've got a channel.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your channel, because you've got a pretty snazzy channel. I hear.
My channel is interesting. Just YouTube.com. Oh, it doesn't do slashes, so I can't say / Manny the Mage like on Twitch. It's kind of lame. I wish it just YouTube.com / Manny the Mage. I don't know. One day I decided to make funny YouTube videos because I'd grown up on like Let's Plays and that sort of format. So it was already something that was in my back burner. And then, I think one day I heard a creator, one day when I was a kid, a creator like say how he did his stuff and his whole setup. And then I was like, oh snap. And then I just started taking notes and was like, oh, you can do this with this. And then I just learned about capture cards and then I editing software and all this other stuff. So it's one of those things where doing YouTube for me just felt like a natural creative process to what was already kind of established in my hobbies as in my child. So we're out here, we like to make just like fun, carefree gaming videos,
Yeah. Well, you've got a great little segue there, because we are actually going to talk about your childhood games to start this podcast off with.
Oh, let's do it.
So we'll attempt some sort of chronological order ish.
Mm-hmm.
What was your first console or PC or whatever it might have been? What was your first experience of video games?
Okay. So when I was younger, it's funny because my dad told me this in retrospect, but it's like one of those things where someone tells you something and then things click. I would say my first experience with video games, or at least with thinking that I was playing video games, was with my dad, right? Where my first family console that we owned was we were lucky enough to own an N64 and a PlayStation 1.
Nice.
So my dad would play Mortal Kombat on the PlayStation and then like Ocarina of Time and N64 or Mario N64 on then the N64. So I was able to kind of get exposure to Nintendo and I mean specifically I want to say the most carnal memories like sitting holding a controller while he's like playing Ocarina of Time. You know what I mean? So I kind of had this weird,
That is the cutest thing. Yeah, absolutely. Do you mean like, giving you the illusion that you're helping him, sort of thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I just like thought I was playing, and then I don't know. I think as I got older, it was Kingdom Hearts, actually, the first Kingdom Hearts with my older sister. She was really, really big into Kingdom Hearts, and then I think I eventually ended up playing like Kingdom Hearts 2 on my own, and then I had like a DS as well, so I was playing all the DS Zelda games. And this is as I'm getting older, maybe like 10, 11, 12, you know what I mean? So for early childhood is definitely N64 all day, definitely some, PS1 class.
Okay. So like you say that you kind of watched your dad play Ocarina of Time. Do you remember what was your first game that you kind of would say was your game that you played? Would it be an N64 like Mario 64 or something?
Let me see. I mean, I want to say so I remember owning a Nintendo DS when I was like really young. And ironically enough, I want to say it is the remake of Mario 64 on the Nintendo DS.
Yeah, that's funny actually.
I think that's what it is actually, because that's how I like know a lot about Mario 64, having not actually like played it with an N64 controller in my hands. I remember my dad and I would compare because I would talk to him about it, and he'd be like, "Oh, that's different." And he's like, "Because I think you get like Yoshi and Wario and Luigi and all
the whole gang.
You know what I mean? The whole gang." And then he was like, "Oh, that's so weird." You know what I mean? Even with the recent Ocarina of Time and Majora Mask remakes, I had those on my 3DS, and I got that when I was like a high schooler. I wanted a DS so bad, 3DS. And I played it on those, and he's like, "Oh my god," his mind was just kind of blown because he was amazed that something could look better on like a tiny device than like the N64.
Yeah,
because for him that was like the baseline of gaming, and then he kind of stopped gaming after that.
That's so interesting. Yeah, because I didn't have an N64. My friend who lived across the road eventually had a GameCube, and my kind of Nintendo home console experiences came from going over his after school to play like Smash Bros.
I feel that though, man. I mean, like I had a friend named Nico back in like 4th grade. If Nico somehow stumbles upon this, hi Nico. But I would always go over to his house and we would play. Because I didn't have a Wii, right? I think we kind of stopped at like PS2, and then there was like the Xbox, PS3. And Wii generation, and I kind of like missed out on a lot of that until I got a PS3 in like maybe like 5 years later.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And then so I would always go over to Nico's place and we would play like Twilight Princess. So I actually have a lot of like backhand experiences through games because I also was in Let's Plays and just like video game personalities on YouTube like very early. So it was like like. I remember watching a dude play like Oblivion, right? Elder Scrolls.
Yep.
So it's weird because I have this attachment to like Elder Scrolls, but I like haven't played an Elder. Well, I mean that's a lie. I played Skyrim a little bit when it was remade on the PS4. But other than that, it's like weird because it creates this parasocial relationship almost with like games. Yeah,
it blurs the line as to what the definition of I played this, because especially when a game's more story driven and linear.
Oh, most definitely.
If you watch a good Let's Play, you can experience that game pretty well through that person. Actually, yeah.
I mean, I would say that I've watched more Zelda games than I've played Zelda. It's interesting to think about because it's like I played Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask when they were remade on 3DS. The original DS ones, I think, like Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks. But aside from and then Breath of the Wild, of course. But aside from that, haven't really played Twilight Princess aside from it emulated. I mean, that's illegal, so let's not. But, I mean, I own a copy of the Twilight Princess on
what was that word you just used? I didn't recognize that. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, right.
I haven't played Twilight Princess actually. I played Ocarina of Time 3D. That is we were talking about the Mario 64 DS. The same way, the Ocarina of Time remake on the 3DS was such an upgrade. And like the 3D effect. Okay, so I don't know what your opinion is on the 3D of the 3DS, but I was a big advocate. I really enjoyed the 3D effect.
I'll tell you what. Me too. It was just one of those things where it's like I would hear like. It's hard because I wouldn't have it on while I was like playing, but when there was cutscenes, I would always turn it on because I thought it was like cool. I was like, shit. Otherwise, it's just a DS. I think that you have to like justify it somehow because it's like, well, I don't know, throw in some 3D, throw in some like beefier graphics in there. Why not?
Yeah, it's crazy really because you don't turn on your Switch and look at it and think, wow, this is terrible. It's only 2D. You don't think that, but
yeah, exactly.
When you turn off the 3D in a 3DS game, you do think everything does look more bland all of a sudden. It's pretty cool.
You're right because something about, and that's something that's interesting because I don't know how. I'd like to know how the demographics split after how many people owned a 3DS. But I remember talking about it in like my high school classroom. And like people just didn't understand what it was. Even people like a lot of American kids just like didn't get it, and really didn't own. At least where I'm from, didn't own a 3DS. They just didn't understand how it was supposed to work and what it looked like, and they almost didn't believe it was like real. It was like weird. It was like I was like having to explain like it's like added depth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like what?
I don't know. It just was such a mind blowing concept for them that they're like, that's not real. It doesn't. Like, dude, no, I own one. It's pretty awesome. When you can get it right, when you can line it up, and I mean, especially with the new 3DS, that's the one I have. The one that's like the new one with the C stick. I think that one has better face tracking or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm able to get a reliable 3D effect on that one.
That one's really interesting.
I like it.
Yeah, it uses.
I think it's super additive.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, you had some games which basically it was pointless. The best example probably being Pokemon. Basically not there. Like you could just forget about it.
Yeah, it's like I don't care to see a 3D Pikachu. Like I don't know.
Yeah, but it wasn't even in some parts of it. It's very strange. But then other games,
really,
I don't know. Yeah. In Pokemon X and Y, the 3D effect was switched off by default the whole time, except for battles.
Wow,
but
that's so interesting.
Yeah, really weird. But at the same time, I think it was a Mega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. They came out the same time as the 2DS, almost as if they were like, yeah, we don't care at all about 3D.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they thought it was more accessible to Western markets. Because even the thing I noticed when I asked a bunch of kids like why they didn't pick up the 3DS, it was usually because their parents were like, no, it's gonna fuck up their eyes. You know what I mean? That was like the first thing the parents were like, fuck no, you can't have one. It's gonna destroy your eyes. We're not gonna do that.
I forgot that was a thing. Actually, yeah, that was a whole thing, and they had to put on the box like, if you're too young, just don't.
Yeah,
dumb,
exactly. So it was just a weird thing. So they had to make the Slate one. So I knew people that had that one, but like, I mean, they made like cool little peripherals for it to make it kind of more like a roller experience. But yeah, I had tons of friends who had that one.
Okay, you just reminded me. You used the word peripheral. Do you remember the Circle Pad Pro?
Circle Pad Pro. That sounds really familiar to me for some reason. Circle Pad Pro. So describe it.
So it was a way of adding second control stick to the 3DS.
Yeah. No, you're right. It was like this weird thing, and you like had like sticks. It was almost like a stilt.
And it was this big old cradle. You put your whole 3DS in.
Damn, dude.
And it added extra shoulder buttons too.
Oh yeah.
And
man.
Yeah, okay. So you just reminded me because I got that right. I was really hyped because it came with Resident Evil Revelations.
Oh yeah.
And it's kind of like, yeah, I want to have two analog sticks for this, But then of course the 3DS XL came out and that didn't fit. So they released a Circle Pad Pro XL, and it is the biggest, obnoxious, chunkiest thing. It's like bigger than a Switch at this point.
Oh my god, that's such a Nintendo way to solve a problem that like they kind of create. I don't know. It's so interesting. Oh man. I definitely remember like all the goofy different like things you slotted into it, like. I don't know. I really do. You remember? Okay, this is gonna be strange. Do you remember something called an action replay?
I did own an action replay. Yes.
Oh shit, dude! I owned like 3 of them because I kept losing. But I remember I had one for the DS, and I used it to like get a bunch of rare candies in my file of Pokemon Diamond. They just evolved the fuck out of everybody.
Yeah, nobody bought an action replay for anything but Pokemon. Like, that was the game to get it for. Yeah.
Because, like, it was like, it didn't work for anything. You know what I mean? Like, all of the things were just like, I don't know.
Not worth it. Yeah.
I remember, I have a fond memory, actually. I tell my mom it's the fondest memory I have of her because you could, like, go in with the action replay and, like, create cheats through like codes that you find online, right? So she actually like printed out like 5 pages or some shit worth of code that was supposed to, apparently, and I should have known this was fake, right? But it was supposed to make it so that every single Pokemon encounter that you find in Pokemon Diamond will be Mewtwo, right? So I was like, oh, dude, I need all the Mewtwo's. I need a Mewtwo army, bro.
Yeah.
So then she prints off at her job, like a bunch of codes, and then we're literally just sitting there, and she's telling me the code line by line by line for 5 pages, entering it. You know what I mean? My mom was with the gamer attitude.
That is awesome.
I don't know. I love it.
Yeah.
Action replay.
For me, I because Pokemon Pearl was my first Pokemon game, and so
Really?
when I got the action replay, and obviously it lets you spawn any Pokemon that you want, right?
Oh yeah.
And I remember going on the list like, well, I don't recognize half of these guys. Because I didn't play the other games. There were all these Pokemon that weren't catchable in Diamond and Pearl, so I'd never really seen them before.
No, I feel that.
So it's crazy.
Diamond was my first one, ironically enough, too.
Oh, interesting.
Pokemon game that I played. Yeah. Gen 5. Is it Gen 5, I think?
Gen 4.
Gen 4. Gen 4 till I die.
Yeah.
And then I never played like XY, never played Sun. You know what I mean? That's kind of where I fell off.
Did you play Black and White?
No. I didn't pick up another Pokemon game until... I mean, I bought Sun for my 3DS, but then I got halfway through and I was like, this is boring. And then
It's not good. It's not a good game.
Even Sword is kind of like... Sword can be a little grating at times, so I haven't finished that either.
So yeah, it seems like we're actually complete rivals because you got Diamond and I got Pearl. You got Sun and I got Moon, and you got Sword and I got Shield.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, we're just anime rivals from Jump. That's crazy. You were the Sasuke to my Naruto. That's
yeah,
insane.
exactly. Oh man.
Oh jeez.
Yeah. I mean, we could go on a whole Pokemon tangent, but
easily.
we're not going to do that right now because there's a whole universe of games that we can talk about here, right?
Oh yeah. Let's Pokemon already gets their own section of the world.
What about PC? Do you have any PC gaming history?
It's interesting. I actually don't. Like so my PC, I built my PC I don't know how long ago it was, man. I mean, maybe less than a year ago. And that's really been my first expedition into PC because I've never really owned powerful enough PCs in my past. So I mean, there's like a bunch of web browser games I played as a kid, but like aside from that, never was really on Steam. Never was any of that.
Just so you know, nothing is out of bounds for discussion on this podcast. Like, if you've got like a mini clip game or something that you want to bring up, don't worry.
Oh, dude, let's get it cracking then. There's this web browser game, a few web browser games. One was called Thing Thing, and there's like Thing 1, Thing 2, Thing Arena, Thing 3, right? And it was you were like these goofy. I hear you typing away in the background.
Yeah. I recognize this game actually. Funny enough, I know this one.
Yeah, and it was just like you just played with guns and like shot around and stuff. So like, okay, I'm gonna tell you something really embarrassing. One day, hopefully, when I have 100 bagillion, jajillion, fulfillion subscribers and don't have to worry about it, I'm going to just release all of my old videos because I had a YouTube channel when I was like in 4th grade, and
nice.
I did a bunch of tutorials with a bunch of games. It was goofy. It's cringy. It's cringy as shit. But one of them was Thing Thing, where I was doing a little tutorial. And I was like, "This is how you guys do this in Thing Thing." You know what I mean? So that feels like already like a precursor to my YouTube channel. It's like, wow, I was trying to do that shit. I'm trying to do exactly what I was, what I'm doing now. I was trying to do back then. So it's just interesting to think about.
No, you've just reminded me of something that I completely forgot about. Maybe I buried it actually.
Repressed it.
I have a similar story, right? So it wasn't like it was a YouTube channel, but I did some YouTube videos on like whatever when I was like, this is years ago, 11 years ago or something.
Oh yeah.
On my 3DS, and I got a card. So I wanted to film some 3DS footage of Resident Evil Revelations because I noticed like there was nothing online. I was like, I'm just gonna film it, but I didn't have a capture card because it was a 3DS, and I think at the time that was kind of either difficult or impossible. I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, I think in order to record 3DS, you have to straight up buy ones with,
It's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I set up a cardboard box, so it was pitch black, and I put
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I shoved a little hole through where I could put a camera, and I filmed it like that. And it was like the worst quality, right? Obviously, you can imagine.
I love that. I did exactly that to record my DS.
Yeah, but I got views for some reason. Like as a kid, I was like, I got like a few thousand views for these videos. Yeah,
it's destined. It's destined.
I was like,
it was meant to be.
Why? And looking back, like this was bad.
I mean, hey man, hey brother, it was the wild west back then.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
You could just make things and then people would view them. Like I'd significantly at one point I had far more views on that goofy old. Oh, hello. Sorry, my screen went blank.
I can still hear you. Don't worry.
Okay, maybe I think things just went to sleep. Sorry. But yeah, far more views at one point on that goofy little dipshit 4th grade channel than I did on like this channel. It's just so weird to think about. But there is a video I had where there was this DS game I was in love with called The World Ends With You. It was a Square Enix game. I've played it.
I like it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Continue.
I'm a huge anime fan in period. Huge Japan fan in general. So like when I was a kid, anything that was Japanese, I like gravitated towards. So I watched a whole lot of anime, a whole lot of, played a whole lot of like Final Fantasy games, a lot of Persona games, and The World Ends With You. So I literally have a video of doing that exact thing with the cardboard box where you sit it, and then I stuck my little goofy camcorder in and
that
then
is
record.
So funny.
Man. Wow. We are the same person. That's crazy.
There we go. Yeah.
Let's amoebify and conglomerate together.
Yeah, well,
become the super Psy.
Yeah, I think I'm sure I've mentioned this to you before. But when I was growing up, I loved anime and stuff, and then I kind of stopped watching it. But it was more because I think high school was just high school.
Yeah,
and I remember thinking like maybe I shouldn't watch this anymore, and I didn't for years. And then I got back into anime afterwards. Like, man, I love anime. I felt like pressured not to because kids in high school are mean and stuff.
People in shitheads,
yeah. And it's kind of in terms of anime games, I've always played them. In terms of like anime, TV shows, I'm kind of on catch up with that at the moment. I'm kind of making my way through the classics.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, there was just like a dry section between like, I don't know, the late 2000s to, I don't know, maybe 2014, 2015, where there just was like nothing that, like, if you were like a Western anime fan, you just had fuck off nothing. Like you literally couldn't find anything. You had to try to bootleg stuff online or something. Like Crunchyroll wasn't even a thing. Funimation wasn't even a thing. But now, I have both of those, so I just get to kind of like see what was happening back then. It's just so interesting, And
it's undoubtedly far more popular now.
Yeah.
Well, at least it's difficult because I don't know what the difference is. When it comes to interest in anime in the UK and the US, I don't know what the difference is. It could be different over in the US, but
it's interesting because I was gonna say even when you're talking about high school, and not to be weird when I asked you this, but what's the age difference between us?
Well, I'm 24.
Okay, so not that much. I'm 22. So.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, cool. Yeah,
we basically went to high school around the same time.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was almost wondering if maybe it was like generational. Because I feel like by the time
technically, I'm a millennial and you're a Gen Z though. So technically, we're a whole generation apart.
I don't buy that, man.
No,
I mean, I think we watched the same cartoons as when we were kids, probably, right?
I reckon we did. Yeah, I'm only joking.
Yeah. That's how I define it. What cartoons did you watch, fam?
Hey, Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah,
Dude,
SpongeBob. Obviously, I mean, SpongeBob is just.
That's just the staple, you know.
When I was a lot younger, it was Scooby Doo. That was like my first kind of obsession when I was really young.
Velma or Daphne? Is that a problematic question to ask you?
It's a little bit. It's problematic because.
Let's not.
You want you want to get into this? You want to get into some Scooby Doo?
Maybe, dude. Maybe. Let's get it.
I feel like
Scooby Doo debates.
I feel like it's more of a. It's just Shaggy. It's Shaggy and Scooby all day. I mean, if you like any of the other characters, I don't know. You might absolutely love Fred or something. But as far as I'm concerned, it's all about Shag, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they are the kind of main characters of the show, right? That's how I've always perceived it. I mean, Velma was my first crush. I'll say
that is brilliant.
Something just about Velma. I was like, man, smart girl with, you know what I mean, with like glasses, like I don't know, man, something about it, nerdy girls.
That's interesting. I mean, I never had any interest in those two characters, I have to say.
Oops.
I watched so much of like the really old, like the original Scooby Doo. I don't know. They're all pretty. They're just pretty funny, really. I don't know if they're not people. They're all just caricatures. Like
yeah, I mean, yeah, they're supposed to be like these. I mean, I kind of always perceived it as just like stereotypes. Like they're purposely like, like Shaggy's like a stoner, Velma's a nerd. I don't know. Daphne's Vade and Fred is like milk toast. He's just Fred.
Fred is, to be fair, actually, in hindsight, Fred is brilliant. Fred is he's so vanilla. He's so the bland is the bland. I love him.
Have you seen the newer Scooby Doo? There was like a new series on like Netflix for a while.
I haven't, no.
They play off of his like Valley Girl dumbness so well. Like they use it for so many good comedic setups because he's just such a like there'll be times Daphne's trying to go on a date and smack him up and all this stuff, and he's just like, but I gotta lay out these traps, Daphne. Like don't worry about it. I have to like test out these traps in my backyard. And you're like, what? Dude, why? I don't know. I just like the way that they play with the characters in the new.
Yeah.
He does. Do you ever see the movies? The live action
movies? I was literally about to. That was my next sentence. Have you seen James Gunn's Scooby Doo movie? That is such a funny movie to watch, even now.
Wait, let me make sure we're talking about the same movie. Yeah. Oh wait, James Gunn, like Guardians of the Galaxy guy? Did he make that?
He did.
Really? I love that.
Yeah.
I love that so much. Oh wow, you're right. Damn. Did he make the other one too?
I'm not sure. The other one was terrible in comparison, so I don't know.
It was, to be fair. Wow, that makes so much sense.
It's
the island one, dude. That's the best one. That's the best one.
So I've actually watched that movie in the last year. I've watched that 3 times now in the last year alone.
I don't blame you.
That's on top of the other 100 times I watched it when I was younger.
I mean, it's a cinematic masterpiece. I would say so.
There we go. What more? I can't add any more to that. You're just right.
Yeah. There's no arguing. That's a hard fact. Oh,
we could go into. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say. I was just talking about nostalgia. I was like, there's so few properties that have managed to just like ride nostalgia all the way out, and I feel like Scooby-Doo is one of them. We were just talking about like SpongeBob too.
I think it's questionable whether it's successfully. I think Scooby-Doo kind of died years ago, and it's now we're witnessing its dead corpse being dragged along.
Being puppeteered along. I mean, the new one is interesting, but it's very Cal Arts, right? It's very like trying to have like a story, like Adventure Time. You know what I mean? How there's just like a new wave of cartoons that that are trying to almost be anime like. I feel like it's trying to be that, where there's like a sequential story, and and it's like, we don't need that with Scooby Doo, dude.
It
really
kind
don't.
That kind of makes me feel like there is a. I mean, what is it? Is it Warner Brothers? Who owns it? I actually have no idea.
Yeah, Warner Brothers. That's Warner Brothers.
And I feel like they've got this very expensive property that they can't sell it because no one's buying, and they're just like, what do we do? And they should just can it, but because you're saying like, oh, they're making it like Adventure Time, but Adventure Time already exists.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Everything's trying to just kind of like, I don't know. I watch these guys Oni plays on YouTube. They're a fun bunch, but one of them said one time that it feels like sometimes media corporations like Disney, all that stuff, are really just trying to like resell you your childhood all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't need you to like keep making Scooby Doo into the end of time, right? I just, like, make new stuff. Let's gravitate to it. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Look forward to it. This decade is 90s nostalgia decade. We're gonna get hit hard by it.
I mean, I feel that though. It's weird. It always happens where it's like the nostalgia like moves along with the decade, forward. If that makes sense, like 2020s,
it does,
are gonna be like the year of the 90s, and then it's like 2030s will be like the 2000s. Oh yeah, Space Jam. Oh yeah.
That's one example that I've just thought of, but there's all sorts of these kind of. I guess it'll be like 90s / early 2000s. Basically, people our age who are now adults, earning money, who will happily just pay that money into the nostalgia engine that they're making.
Yeah, right, for that serotonin shot. Do you know what I mean? That's what it really is. That shot of dopamine that seeing Bugs Bunny interact with basketball players gives people. It
right, hurts because nostalgia. I look at it and I'm like, oh, this is not getting me. I don't care. And there will be something that then comes up. I'm like, I have to. I love it. I can't not watch this. I have to consume this.
That's what I felt about Sonic, dude. I was so like, because that was a whole cultural debacle in and of itself. But it was one of those things. I was like, oh, I don't care. Especially because he was ugly. Back when he was ugly, I was able to be like, man, I'm not gonna watch that fucking shit. But then they made him like clean again, and I was like, oh wait. I was like, wait, my childhood hit me in the spots, and then I went and saw it.
I'm so. Give me a good Sonic game. Like, it doesn't even have to be like amazing. Give me a 7 or an 8 out of 10 Sonic, and I will eat that up. But
yes,
they can't.
The bar
they can't
for Sonics it's low. It's really low because it's. Have you seen anything on Sonic Boom? Do you remember Sonic Boom?
Oh yes, the short answer. Yeah, yes, I do.
The hot garbage dumpster fire that is Sonic Boom. They've just gotten so used to like being able to pump out like mid-tier Sonic games, and people will buy them just to see if they're like good or bad.
I think that's kind of coming to an end though. I think they've been doing it for too long. I don't know.
Yeah, there's this game called it's called Crumble. I played it on my channel, and it's like I'm looking at it, and I'm like, this is what Sonic needs to be, because it's like Sonic. But there's like realistic weight and gravity to everything, and there's like no flash. Everything is just like straight, and you're kind of like trying to bounce off and like coordinate yourself. I'm like, if Sega would just do this, I'd buy it and it'd be a good Sonic game. But I don't know, man.
Play either Sonic Unleashed or Sonic Generations?
Neither. But I did watch the Game Grumps play Sonic Unleashed, so I understand the goofiness of that one. But
so. The day stages, the actual speedy Sonic stages of that game are actually really good. And
of Unleashed?
Yeah, they're actually really fun. Obviously, there's jank too in there, right? But
of course.
It's actually really enjoyable. And I had that on the Wii. And I used to just play those stages over and over and over again. They kind of they just haven't done that for a long time.
Yeah, I mean it's weird. I mean, to an extent, I think maybe this might get a little controversial, but I think maybe the Sonic community just doesn't like. I don't know. It seems like there's not like a priority on making good Sonic games, more or less is making like visually cool ones. Because that's just what it seems like Sonic fans like. Stuff that's just visually cool, and there's like, oh, more animal people with names. And not to diss furries or anything. I mean, do what you do with if you're furry. But I feel like there's a large part of that is Sonic, where it's like, oh, people just want to see like cool animal characters, and they're not really interested in like gameplay.
I've got to say, I get what you're saying. The thing is, I don't even think they can do that well, in my opinion.
Oh, like even if there was like a good Sonic game, it wouldn't do that well.
No, as in, you're saying like, oh, they're going for a certain thing, but I don't think they're doing anything well. Like even like even though they're, I agree with what you're saying that, and I don't even think they're doing that in a particularly well.
Not even like probably not even intentionally.
Yeah.
It's just happening to be that.
Well, I have a quick anecdote that I need to tell you because you'll find it funny.
Hell yeah!
I went to see the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, the recent one, obviously.
Yeah.
In the cinema when it came out, and obviously, you know, I didn't like it. I mean, it was just average. It was like really. Yeah. I really hoped it would be terrible, and it wasn't. It was kind of just like average, which is
pretty mid,
which is really boring.
Yeah, I mean, if it was janky, that it'd make it like a legend. You know?
Exactly. I mean, they had Sonic, the meme.
Yeah. That's right. That is right.
But yeah, so I went to see it with a bunch of mates. There was like 6 of us, you know, all in our 20s, and we went to the cinema. And honestly, we were kind of expecting most of the people there to be probably, obviously there'll be kids, but we thought, there'll be other people our age too, to seeing it for the joke.
Yeah, you think like a nostalgia thing?
No.
Really?
It was our row, and then a cinema full of kids and their parents.
Damn, man. Well, I mean,
it was the funniest experience ever.
I mean, how much you want to bet? Like, it's really just the parents being like, "Oh, this is a fun kids movie. You want to see Little Sally?" When it's really just them who are like, yes. Really just like a really grown ass '90s kid who's like, "Yes."
we had a guy. I say a guy, a child. Like
a small child
do like the Sonic run down the front of the cinema at one point in the movie. There's a scene. Did you say you've seen it?
Yeah, a while ago.
The scene where Sonic kind of like, it looks like he's died. He's like, oh no, Sonic died, and then obviously he hasn't. There was a kid that just burst out crying and had to get taken out.
Damn, dude.
Man. We're just wetting ourselves. We're just crying with laughter at the front because of how bad the film is.
Oh man, I mean, it's just kind of like a bland family movie, and they were really trying to make it as like, I don't know. I would have liked it if they had banked a little bit more into like '90s aesthetic and style. But hey, I get it. You know, trying to still keep it a little bit more modern. But
they should have just gone mad with it. Yeah, they should have just gone.
Yeah, should have gone crazy,
complete bonkers. Yeah,
should have been set in the '90s. Why not? You know.
I don't know. Can you imagine? That'd been so much better.
Oh yeah. I mean, I know it made enough to apparently greenlight a sequel. That's an interesting fact about the world. I don't know.
So I am going to move the podcast onto section 2 now.
Show.
This is a very serious part of the podcast. And the stakes are very high.
Don't say that.
So, have you got a list of your top 5 games of all time?
I do, and it's tough because I know that this is not an accurate representation of me as a gamer, or at least it doesn't seem like it is an accurate representation of me now, right? It's like weird because I had to genuinely think about all the games that I like, and then compare it to all of the games that I like now. The whole of all time is the tricky part, right?
It's horrible, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so difficult. There's only like 5. If you gave me 10, this would have been so easy. But
I like produced because let me run through. So basically, in front of me now, I have a list. It's a very, very long list. of games that people have added through all these podcasts, and they've all graded points. So fifth place, so your fifth, your worst best game of all time will get 1 point, and then your best game of all time will get 5 points, and so on.
Interesting.
And so they're all ranks, and the idea of this list is that eventually, when, because this podcast is obviously wildly successful. So once we have
worldwide known, international.
Yeah. So once we have guest number 100, insert famous, Hideo Kojima comes on.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson, you know what I mean?
Yeah. In theory, we'll have a list where there would have been lots of repeats. And so we can get like a ranking list of the best games of all time.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense, because then you're getting overlap from a bunch of different people on, who agreed on the same game. That'll be interesting. Yeah.
And after we've talked and discussed your games and choices, I'll read you the list. It's hilarious.
Man.
So I can't wait to hear your selection. So I think we should go for it.
This is pressure. This is some pressure right now. Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm down. Let's do it.
So there was originally a tier system of 5 tiers, but the last episode completely ruined that because there were a few repeats, and now it's messed up the whole list. So I'm just going to say, go for your first. Your first. So number 5.
Number 5.
Yeah.
So for number 5, I have Persona 4.
Welcome to the Hitbox. Duel 1. Here we go.
Dude, I tell you, I was the smoothest, most Mac Daddy getting all the dates in Persona 4, man. This game,
tell me about it. Go for it.
I feel like it awakened me as a young maestro, as a young just like socialite. Something about like the murder mystery aspect of Persona 4, like the small town aspect of it. You just felt like a sleuth. You felt like a detective. You felt like a suave romancer. You felt like a person with a bunch of friends. so it was like really. It just was like really high for me as like just like a kind of boring, like not as popular kid in my high school. Not even high school, but elementary school even. Because I was playing Persona 4 when I was like in 6th grade or something like that, which I definitely shouldn't have been, but but here we are,
I just have the fondest of memories of Persona 4.
Oh man, do you ever play Persona 3?
I have not played Persona 3.
It's a good one.
I'm kind of I very, very nearly bought it on the Vita.
Oh man.
But I kind of want to have like an HD remaster because I really do think they're going to do that soon. I'm waiting for it.
I hope so. I really do. I would love to see both Persona 3 and 4. I mean, I just like Persona 4 better because I like its story a little bit better. But even Persona 3 is like stunning. Like just, some of the visuals in it, some of the character design is just great, I love me some Persona. But I will say something, hot take. Persona 5, it's alright.
Okay, that's interesting. So I did love Persona 5. However, you mentioned this. There was something about the kind of small town, tightly knit friendship group of Persona 4, which elevated that game beyond its sequel. I think Persona 4 was just
Persona 4 is I mean I think that's when you're comparing it. Like if I'm looking at Persona 5 standalone, like it's pretty great. I mean there gets to a point where there's a little repetitiveness, and I do have an issue with the enemy system compared to Persona 4. Like I like how it just feels like Persona 4's enemies are a little bit more creative than Persona 5's. But when you're just it's always easy to make something look bad when you're comparing it to something that's really good.
Yeah, I get that. I can't actually. I know they're both very long games. I felt like Persona 5 was even longer. It was quite long though, wasn't it?
Yeah, a little bit dense. And to be fair, I think a lot of that, I don't know. I mean, even Persona 4 was a little bit of a dungeon crawler game. So even gameplay wise, I feel like, it wasn't like Persona 5 did something that made the game stretch out, but it did feel a little longer. I get what they're trying to do.
I think if you're looking at, it's a bit unfair, obviously, because there's clear improvements in Persona 5. Yeah. The dungeons are undoubtedly more interesting.
Oh yeah. I mean, from a visual and like navigational standpoint, oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I will say, and this is going to be a weird critique because Persona 5 is already a little bit dark, but I like the darkness of Persona 3 and Persona 4 like much more. If that makes sense.
Yeah. That is an interesting way of putting it, actually.
I don't know, man. It just felt like a little bit predictable, especially story-wise. There's some story points where I'm like, okay, yeah, I could have guessed that this was this, right? I don't know. Whereas Persona 4 had a fucking curveball, and you just were like, whoa. I don't know.
It's so difficult, actually, because I know what you're saying. I do actually think that Persona 4, the story feels darker. But the kind of the UI and the overall, I can't put my finger on it. The UI in Persona 3 is very happy. Lots of flowers, bright yellow. All the the music's very the music's upbeat in both the games, but the music's very upbeat generally in Persona 4. Whereas Persona 5, it feels a little bit more. It's urban. It feels a little bit more gritty.
Yeah,
it kind of.
I do like the soundtrack a lot of Persona 5.
Yeah. Well, that's a fantastic pick. And so, because I'll let you in. So basically, when we did this list to get the list going, me and Jack also added our games to it too, just to get it rolling.
Hell yeah.
And I did put Persona 4 as one of my games, so here we go.
It's on the list. On the list, baby. We're getting there.
So, what is your number 4 game?
So, number 4, there I put my list. I have Final Fantasy 12.
Duel 2. Ooh.
Interesting choice. Interesting curveball. This was a moment where I had to think about the Final Fantasy games that I played versus the ones that I've watched, because I've watched a bunch, but I've only actually played when I was a kid. I mean, really just 12, I think, and then 10-2 I played. And I didn't play the original 10 until I don't know, fucking high school. But it's actually funny. There's a funny story behind how I actually got Final Fantasy 12. It was supposed to be a Christmas gift. I really wanted Final Fantasy X-2, right? Because I don't know, I little Manny had a crush on the anime girls that were in Final Fantasy X-2 or something like that. But I specifically wanted X-2, right? And it's already confusing for parents to buy video games, all that business. So my mom, just being a person, right, is just like, oh, X-2, 12, Final Fantasy 12. Let's get it. So I was like, man, this isn't the right. But I ended up loving Final Fantasy 12 and then feeling
funny story.
X2.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I haven't played 12. This is the one that has kind of MMO like combat. Am I right? Or am I completely off of that?
No, I mean it does kind of play like an MMO, but it's not. But there is the MMO one, which is 14.
Oh yeah.
But this one.
I play that a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, I know. I have a friend who sunk 300 hours into it or something crazy like that. Insane, man. But yeah, I mean, this one, Final Fantasy 12, right? And Final Fantasy in general, was always interesting to me because it was always able to reinvent different like themes and symbols in different like aesthetics. So like Final Fantasy 12 is a big example of that, where it just feels like such a unique, different. I mean, especially when you're comparing it to like 7 or like 10, 12 really stands out aesthetically to me, you know.
I love that about Final Fantasy. It's so interesting.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I don't know. I've always just been in love with Final Fantasy because, you know, it just hits all those good power, friendship, and anime like buttons in my heart, you know.
See, I was more on the other side of the coin. I was always more into Dragon Quest, so I missed out on
interesting.
Basically, like all of the Final Fantasy games. I'm kind of playing catch up slowly. I know very little
it's weird
about
to play
12.
catch up. Oh yeah, 12 kind of went under the radar for a lot of people, and to be fair, it's kind of a dense one. In my opinion, it's the most like Game of Thronesy Final Fantasy game, where it's like it's like a weird mixture of like Game of Thrones and then Star Wars, because they have these like almost like hovercraft things, and everything's like old but new looking. Do you know what I mean? Old but like sci-fi looking. And then, you know, just gorgeous landscapes and all this stuff. I mean, it was a little bit clunky to play, but it was Square trying to slowly like get out of the standard turn-based and start moving a little bit towards more like action RPG. But it was still some, you know, it was still a little bit poorly executed. But I was able to work around it. But I don't know.
So yeah, I'm obviously I'm aware of the game, but I'm on Google Images just trying to give me some flavour to what you're saying. To get an idea of the aesthetic.
I actually want to look it up now too.
It's
such a fun game to look at.
It was PS2, wasn't it? Yeah.
Which is surprising because it looked like really good for a PS2. At least the pre-rendered stuff, you know.
It's a gorgeous PS2 game. It looks so good.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I would argue I was more in love with the aesthetic than maybe like the gameplay or even like the story sometimes. But just the world that it created, you know what I mean? All these environments that it see throughout the game. It just feels so flushed out. And actually, if you ever played like Final Fantasy Tactics, it's supposed to take place in the same world as Tactics, which is fascinating.
Right, okay, so here's another weird thing, right? So I haven't got to this bit yet, but apparently it also takes place in the same world as Final Fantasy XIV.
Really?
I'm pretty sure in 14 at some point you visit a city that exists in 12. And
oh damn!
I think
I'd actually love that as an idea.
Yeah, but it might be. Again, I don't know because I haven't got there yet. It might be like a kind of parallel universe type deal where they hop to a different dimension type thing. But I'm pretty sure 12 is in the same sort of world. Yeah,
I like that, especially because 12 really builds out this world to be like big. You know what I mean? That's what I always like. I mean, there's a big old theory that all the Final Fantasy games are kind of the same. I mean, it has holes here and there, but people try to like fit things together by being like, "Oh, this is just the same world at different cataclysmic events and points in history and time."
To be fair, I think you could explain it away with having just alternate parallel universes that exist in this world, and I think that would all actually come together quite nicely because they always establish summons in all the games. Summons are always something unique, and like they're gods, and they all connect. Definitely. They all connect between the games. There's definitely something going on there for sure.
Yeah, I mean, even if you play, I also liked Final Fantasy 15. I didn't want to add it because it's like I was trying to think of games that were formative to me that were in this top 5, but I really like Final Fantasy 15, and they do a summoning system that kind of explains that like the gods are like tied to the world and the world state. But like as the gods start getting like eliminated because this army starts just going around and killing these gods because they're kind of like physical beings in the world you can go to. shit just starts getting thrown out of whack and people get like diseases and stuff like that. So I really like the ideas that they're playing with, and you know what I mean. I could totally see them explaining it with like, multiverse type things. I don't know. I get geeky over Final Fantasy. I really do. I love that shit.
Yeah, it's such a rich universe. 15's one that's been on my radar because it's on Xbox Game Pass, and I would
recommend it.
I hear the ending is a little bit messy though.
It gets clunky, but it's like one of those things where it's more like a story gripe for me. There's no easy way to explain it without spoiling anything, but it's just one of those things, especially because the game fakes you out. Because
don't tell me, because I probably will end up playing it at some point.
Okay, it will do. I will say though, you think that the game is going to be longer than it is. Like you think that because of how the characters look at the beginning, you think like, oh, this is going to be, but then it's like actually kind of quite short if you just play through all of it. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Okay, interesting.
I don't know.
Right, what's your next game?
All right, next game. Let's see. I keep closing out my list. I'm so sorry. So unprofessional. Kingdom Hearts 2.
Duel 3. Another solid pick.
Kingdom Hearts 2. Oh man. And this goes all the way back to me playing Kingdom Hearts 1 with my older sister. Because I played Kingdom Hearts 2 basically with her, and then she got older, got into high school, stopped really playing video games, and then it was just mine. And then I just love Kingdom Hearts as well for the same reasons, for the exact same reasons as Final Fantasy. I mean, I'm just kind of a Square Enix shill. It's hard because I love them and hate them at the same time. But
they make questionable decisions, and they also do some great things as well. It's very strange.
They do. Yeah, they're an interesting bag of a company.
Kingdom Hearts 2. Kingdom Hearts. Okay, here's I haven't played a single game in any Kingdom Hearts game, and I am very, very, very well aware of how impenetrable this series is to someone who hasn't played one before.
Yeah, it's dense. It's pretty dense. Because even if you try to understand or learn one thing about something they introduced, you're like, how a mechanic works, they'll throw another mechanic at you out of their ass and be like, hey, here's a thing in this world. And you just have to be like, yeah, okay. I guess I have to. So, like, for example, it was like, I'm trying to think of a less spoilery thing. Time travel. They just throw in time travel to explain away some things or to, like, create this story setup. The thing about Kingdom Hearts, right? It started. I feel like it started as like a test, as like an idea to see if this would work, right? And so because of that, Tetsuya Nomura and whoever makes Kingdom Hearts didn't really have a plan. So they just made Kingdom Hearts with the expectation that like this would totally fail and it won't take off. They didn't really create a way to make like sequels. So then all the sequels feel like more and more contrived. But I don't know. I still love Kingdom Hearts 2 just by nature of it being like the first game I'd say I completed on my own.
So recently have now been ported. Literally every single game, all the spin-offs included, have now been ported to PC recently. And so for me, I saw that, like, okay, this is my time to hop in. And I looked at it like, yes, Kingdom Hearts 2.8 final chapter prologue, brilliant. What
3.8 over 6 days.
I mean, come on, what is going on with that?
It's dense. I mean, I just think they wanted to get certain characters from point A to point B, but like the problem is that. So, like, even if you think about 3, right? If you play Kingdom Hearts 3 after playing Kingdom Hearts 2, it'll make no fucking sense. You'll play Kingdom Hearts 2 and then immediately go to Kingdom Hearts 3 and you're like, who are these people? Because, a lot of the Kingdom Hearts franchise actually ended up happening spin-off games, which were all for different consoles, by the way.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's mental. It's absolutely crazy.
It's insane. It's almost like Square Enix doesn't want you to like doesn't want you to get the full Kingdom Hearts experience all at once. Until of course they put it on PC, but
it's not even like.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's not even. Oh yeah, you know, if you had a DS, you play all through these games. It's literally on PSP, DS, 3DS, PS2, PS4. That's a. Isn't there like a movie or sort of like an extended feature thing as well? Also the browser game that's only available in Japan is entirely canonical.
So if you want to understand the full story and you want to experience the full story yourself, you have to somehow be able to play a Japanese browser game.
I love it and hate it.
Yeah, man. Square Enix.
Yep.
Mad lads. Fucking mad lads. But, you know, Kingdom Hearts 2 in specific was just like a big moment for me, I feel like. It was like the first... Because, you know, you play games when you're a kid and you don't like... How do I phrase it? You don't play them with like a true intentionality. Because, you know, as you get older, you're like, okay, now I actively want to achieve these goals in the game, right? But when you're a kid, you just play games and play them, and then if you miss stuff, it's fine. But if you complete, you know what I mean? The Kingdom Hearts 2 was really the first game where I wanted to collect everything. I set out to try to get all the ingredients to like make the ultimate or something. It's like really when I woke up as a gamer, so to speak, and was like,
that's really cool. Yeah,
you know, started looking up stuff for it to, I don't know, love that game. Hate it, but love it.
So, moving on. What is your... So, this is very serious now. Number 2. Your second best game of all time.
2. Well, you know, here's the problem. I have one on my list. Well, I'll just say it. I'll just say it as I wrote it originally. Mario 64.
Joe 4!
It's me, Mario.
There it is.
Mario 64.
The big boy.
The big daddy, big boy. And just for so many reasons, right? First game, of course. First game that I really looked at. And to another degree, I think it was like, it's like the gamer's game. Like, it's like the introductory to like 3D games, right? Especially when they remastered some of the controls on the DS. It just is like, if you give Mario 60, I have this belief. If you give Mario 65 to a child, 65.
the secret sequel that no one knows about.
Yeah, Mario 65. If you give Mario 64 to a child and you have them play through it, by the end of that playthrough session, like, they will understand most mechanics of like 3D video games. I mean, I just, you know, something feels so foundational about Mario 64 and the way that it does puzzles, that, you know, does like boss fights, stages, you know, just so foundational to like what gaming is now.
Totally.
So, you know, I just have nostalgic love for it. My dad is a huge Mario fanboy. So, you know, it's just, I don't know.
Quite honestly, I think some games could do with going back to learning from it still, actually.
Yeah.
I think some games have kind of gone a bit far away from Mario 64 and have forgotten some of the things that makes those games so good.
Definitely.
Like Mario Odyssey, I think, is the big demonstration of that. Like, that very, very kind of, you know, similar sort of... It goes back to that Mario 64, Mario Sunshine type gameplay, which is just so good.
I mean, even what was before that? Galaxy. I was playing through Galaxy with Anna, and I was like realizing all these flaws that came. Like, Galaxy is a good game and it's a fun game, but it's kind of a bad Mario game at times, where it's like it teaches you stuff and then you never see it again. And like, everything feels like you're in this weird floaty fever dreamscape. There's no like true sense of ground. But then you go back and you play Mario 64. It just has this like very clear identity, you know, what it wants to do and what it wants you to do. I respect the hell out of that video. I don't know.
Cool.
Good design goes a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is... I think we're ready, aren't we? I think we're ready for number one. I think. Yeah. Hold on to something, audience. This is going to be monumental. Let's hear it.
Oh yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. This is going to be a lame like caveat I'm going to give you, but it's kind of two games, and I say that because these games are so similar in their assets and so similar in like their development time frame. Ocarina of Time / Majora's Mask.
Joe 5. I knew you were going to say that as soon as you said that.
Yes,
right.
Because I just feel like they're so inseparable in in my life, because it was like my dad, like same way. As soon as Majora's Mask came out, my dad was on that, playing that together, and it just like because the original Ocarina of Time, I would argue, is like kind of the perfect example of the hero's journey in video game form. It's definitely like the first of its kind. Its locking system kind of helped shape 3D combat in games. I don't know of a single like action RPG game that doesn't have like a lock-on function now, and I feel like you can almost directly attribute that to Zelda.
Yep.
Maybe aside from Ghost of Tsushima, let me not lie, Ghost of Tsushima doesn't have a lock-on, but it's supposed to be weird and unique. So I don't know. It's just so foundational. And then you look at like Majora's Mask, and the way that it handles side quests, and I think Majora's Mask does a very, very good job at reworking the original assets from Ocarina of Time into a solid, like, unique game.
Majora's Mask is so much freakier.
Oh yeah, it's so spooky.
They do a great job, and I do wish that some companies would do that more. You do see it sometimes still. Where you make your main game and then maybe have like a smaller studio do a kind of like a Majora's Mask using a lot of the same assets, get it out quickly, and sell it for a reasonable price. Don't charge the same amount.
Most definitely.
Because that'd be cool. I love some games you finished with it. You just want more of the same, like straight away.
Exactly. Yeah, because then you have attachment to characters, and I think the only example I can think of that is, do you ever play like the game Infamous?
Yes.
So I'm sorry. Do you ever play Infamous 2?
I did. Yeah.
Okay, so Infamous 2 had this DLC that was like the Vampire's Ball or some shit. I forgot what it was called, and it was just like
I forgot about that.
You could play it entirely separately from Infamous 2, and it was like its own thing, and it was like Cole, but he had like his powers, and I guess he got bitten by a vampire, so he had like a little weird bit, you know what I mean? And I just like shit like that, where it's like games will just take their base game and throw something fun in.
I know we are going to go back to Zelda, don't worry, but since you have done it, Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare.
Yes, exactly. I was just thinking about that.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, man. Just shit like that, where it's like you can tell the developers are like having fun with their assets, and it feels unique enough to not feel scummy or like they're just trying to sell you the same game.
Sure. That was like a whole game. Undead Nightmare's brilliant.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
Anyway, Zelda.
Back to Zelda.
Okay, I've got to ask you.
Mm.
You do need to pick one though.
Ah, jeez, man.
And I'm going to give this to you. So when someone on this brings up another game, they bring up a sixth game, I give them the opportunity. I don't tell them that this is an opportunity before, because otherwise everyone will do it. But there's an opportunity to put a game into an honourable mentions section. So you can still have this game, on this list in some capacity, but it won't be on the official. It won't have any points. It will have 0 points. It will be an honourable mention.
Dude, that's so tough. Well, okay. If that is the case, then I do think then Ocarina of Time has to be the honorable mention.
Whoa.
And Majora's Mask will be number one. I faked you oushed. I did it so smoothly. But no, I mean,
wow,
here's the thing.
cool.
Here's where it comes down to, right? I will say Ocarina of Time is foundational and it is all this, but because of that, it is like the baseline of every single, I mean, up till Breath of the Wild, every single Zelda game past that, right, was just some internal reworking of Ocarina of Time in some way, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas you pick up, I don't know if have you ever played Majora's Mask?
I played it on the 3DS.
Okay. Yeah, you pick up Majora's Mask and it's like this legitimate, like, new experience, and it's weird. Because even in the beginning, it just feels
weird.
like, it feels like the misadventures of Link. It feels like, you know, you're seeing this character who you're used to seeing in like a controlled situation where you know he has everything he needs, to like being thrown into a different fucking part of the world or a different area where he then has to like, you know, it's just a new adventure that you have to adapt and, you know.
Yeah. So cool. So yeah, they completely different vibes despite being the like very much the same assets
like,
and stuff. It's
like
awesome.
Basically the same game, arguably, you know, it's just, I don't know, man. Majora's Mask, the way it does side quests, the vibe that it provides, the unique story. I mean, do you know about the theory of Majora's Mask?
Oh, you're gonna, when you say it, I'm gonna remember.
Ooh, okay, so it's the theory, right, that Link perished at the beginning of Majora's Mask.
I thought that was it. Yeah. Oh,
dude.
God.
If you believe that like helps contextualize the story so well for Majora's Mask, and I just love stuff like that where it's like that makes total sense that's what that would be, you know.
You're right. I remember watching a video about that, and they kind of go through it in a way that it makes you just think this. After watching the video, it's like it can't be anything else.
Yeah, you're like this
right.
That makes sense. Like he falls down this hole and then somehow he's in another world. Like he died.
Especially,
you know, like I don't know.
Obviously, the Zelda timeline is stupid, right? I think we could agree on that. But
it's a little stupid.
It's because it's obviously made after the fact. However,
most definitely,
if you take it on the context of that is the timeline where Link lost against Ganon, then it's even more depressing. It's like I'm pretty sure that's the right timeline, isn't it? He loses against Ganon and then just falls and dies.
Basically, I mean, I think isn't the whole thing that is what, because in that timeline that's triggered, that is like where what Twilight Princess is, right?
Yes.
So they're saying that like effectively the world is darker, you know. So you have that split off timeline. I think where Link comes back home and he's a child again, and then he fucking dies, and then you know Majora's Mask happens, and then Twilight Princess happens. So I mean, I just like it. It's the coolest way for Nintendo to split the difference with aesthetics and have a cool and edgy Zelda game, and then have, you know, your standard one. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. They definitely set the bar with that dark aesthetic with Majora's Mask. I feel
well, like. You know, talking about dark aesthetic in Majora's Mask, we haven't seen a lot of it, but Zelda Breath of the Wild 2,
yes, man.
It's from what they've shown, they're definitely giving us. I think the way they did that teaser trailer, I think they want us to be thinking Majora's Mask with what they're doing, because it was definitely a little bit darker. Like literally, he was in the cave,
and that's why I don't. That's why I don't trust that statement from Nintendo, because Nintendo has notoriously been. So, do you remember the whole debacle with the demo that they showed when the GameCube came out? They showed like a Legend of Zelda demo. And
it was like it was super realistic. Yeah,
super realistic, and then they turned around and made Wind Waker. Right? So it's like, I don't know if I trust that whole, like, it's going to be darker than Majora's Mask. Will it?
No, you're right. They did the Wii U. I mean, this was never really it wasn't a rumor. They always said, oh, here's a tech demo. But they did a tech demo of Zelda Wii U, and it was like, again, hyper-realistic Zelda demo.
Oh, yeah.
Running in HD. And obviously, you can't look at that. Yeah, that's such an appealing looking game. It looks awesome.
And then,
and once again, Breath of the Wild, which still looks obviously amazing.
It's
but
it just looks a little
stylized.
derpy by comparison.
Yeah,
it's just a little stylized, you know. I mean, they've always been kind of that way, so I always take it with a grain of salt. But do you? Oh God, what was I going to ask you? I'm so silly. Never mind. I forgot. I had it loaded. The silliest.
Well, maybe your memory will be jogged while I read this list, because I am going to subject you to that if you don't mind.
Oh, let's do it. Get cracking.
I'm going to do it quite quick because we're getting to the end of the podcast now, and it's a long list. So here we go.
Yeah.
Welcome to the world of Hitbox. The world's greatest heroes are all here. So at the bottom, this is such a funny list. Games that have 0 points. So these are all honourable mentions.
Oh man,
so these are the worst games. So at the bottom of the pile, true trash games. We have Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
Garbage.
We have a game called Chromogun. We have Evolve, and we have Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Huh. Interesting little bunch there.
It gets a little weirder. So now we're going to go into the games that have 1 point. We've got Undertale, Street Fighter 4,
yeah,
Minecraft, PUBG, Sonic Boom, don't ask, Warhammer Dawn of War, Lego Star Wars The Complete Saga, and Cuphead.
Damn. And I feel bad because I forgot about Undertale and make my fucking top 5. Well, I was just trying to do formative, and I feel like I didn't get into Undertale until high school, but that definitely should have been an honorable.
I've got to say, I seriously approve of everything you're saying here, because not only did you put Persona 4, which is a game that I put on the list, but Undertale was my entry to the list too. I
really
love Undertale.
It's fantastic. It's so subversive. It's so interesting. It has so much to say in such a way that's like fun and, I don't know, quirky and serious and dark.
Absolutely. Okay,
Man.
Games that have 2 points. We have Civilization 5, Tower 4 Ascension, Spyro the Dragon, Lost Planet 2, Roller Coaster World, Resident Evil 7, Pumped BMX 2, Cube, as in QUBE, Cube, Assassin's Creed, the original Assassin's Creed, and Final Fantasy 12.
Hell yeah! Wait, does that mean that other people mentioned Final Fantasy 12?
No, I'm bundling in your one. Just for the sake of people listening, they can get the whole list. Right, games with 3 points. We have Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Halo Reach, Skyrim, The Sims 3, Red Dead Redemption 2, Dirt 2, Watam, and Kingdom Hearts 2.
Hey, that's the mainstream one that everybody knows this game. Patooey.
To be fair, there's some. Yeah, you're right. There's some pretty big games in that. Yeah, I feel like that. Yeah, you'll see. The top ones are actually probably more divisive than like any of the ones below it. So tier 2. These are games with 4 points. Yeah, you knew it was coming. Zelda Breath of the Wild, Little Big Planet 2, The Witcher 3, another one, Animal Crossing New Leaf, Metro Exodus, Dying Light, and here's a bit of a curveball, Katamari Damacy.
Hey, woo. I like that game.
Oh, Minecraft again? Have I done this wrong? No. Sorry, Minecraft has 4 points. I misread it. Minecraft does not have 3 points. I meant to take it off. My bad. So yes. Continuing with 4 points, we've got Microsoft Flight Simulator 10. And of course Mario 64. And now
Hell yeah.
we're getting towards the top, but not the top yet. So we have, with 5 points, Pokemon Heart Gold / Soul Silver, Mass Effect 2, The Last of Us, Metro 2033, Spyro the Dragon Ripto's Rage, another Spyro game,
Yeah.
Total War Warhammer 2, Skate 3, Persona 4, and
Hey.
the Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. But it's not over, because we have 2 more games which are completely in their own separate area. So this is the only game that has 6 points. Little Big Planet.
Oh wow. Okay, do you know
Enough.
what's interesting? That was my first PS3 game. I remember when I was in middle school, I got a PS3 and I was so excited. And me and my little sister played Little Big Planet. I love that game.
It is actually a fantastic.
If there was a top
game.
10, it would be on my top 10.
Nice. That's okay. That's good.
Oh yeah.
But then, this is where things get weird, because we've got a number 1.
Oh yeah.
So, with 8 points, this is a clear winner here. The best game of all time,
Let's get it.
Battlefield 3.
Huh. Really?
Yep. Apparently so.
Interesting. Why? What about what?
Okay.
What about
so,
Battlefield 3?
So, obviously, the way this list works is that if you, I believe the way it got so high were two people each had it as their number 2, so it got 8. So now it's got a combined total of 8 points.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Now,
But that's
obviously, that shows it's a bit of a fault in the system right now with how this list works.
just a wee bit. Battlefield 3.
But
Oh man.
you know what? This is my podcast, and so I'm allowed to say that
Hell yeah. Hell yeah,
Battlefield
brother.
3 is the best game of all time. Good game.
You know, I'll stand by you on that one. I respect that. Battlefield 3, you heard it here first. Best game of all time. Battlefield 3.
And so
I stand by that.
that's it. That's the end of the podcast. I've had a really, really fun time.
Oh man, yeah, it's been great chatting with you over games here.
We've really done some deep dives. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Thank you for asking me to do this. I appreciate it. Appreciate it, that I can come by and just talk about what I love.
Oh, absolutely. It's a lot of fun, isn't it? Reminiscing about stuff like this.
Definitely. Much needed trips down memory lane,
Yeah. So, thank you, listener, for getting to the end. You successfully get the Reach the End award. I'll send you that in the post if you just give me your address.
Little gold star.
Little gold star. And until next time, have a lovely evening, morning, or afternoon, depending on your time zone. And goodbye.